Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Desert Springs, California. Sometimes when you're moving around a lot, it kind of gets confusing as to where you are and where you're supposed to be. And yeah, and I move tomorrow. But anyway, so we've had an amazing day today. I got to do something that I haven't done in a very, very long time. I told you, I think it was last week, that I joined Polka Dots Powerhouse, and I'm part of their worldwide network, their worldwide chapter. Because I move around so much, I can't really have a home chapter. So what I've done is join their worldwide one, and we have online meetings twice a month, and we had one today. So I got to meet others who are part of the worldwide chapter, and we're talking to people who were in England, Albania, Paris, Canada, and different areas of the US. I think that was it. But it was awesome to be back there, to be back in networking with others again. And I've already had a one-to-one meeting, and I've got like another 4 or 5 already lined up for either later this week or into next week. So I am really looking forward to that. I have so much missed being part of a networking group, and that's designed specifically for networking. I've missed being in BNI chapters, but I can't be in BNI because I can't be at the same chapter week after week after week because I travel. So it's been, let's see, the last time I was at a BNI meeting was the 24th of April, 24th of April, 2015, because I remember it clearly because the 25th in New Zealand is Anzac Day, and it must have been 14. They were coming up to commemorate the 100th commemoration of the invasion of Gallipoli by the Anzacs, and that was what my whole 30-second commercial was about. Nothing about my business. It was just about the fact that we were going to be honoring these people on Anzac Day, and that was the last time I was at any sort of organized networking event. I've been to a couple here and there, but the last actually no, I did go to one in December of 2017. I went to a couple with a friend of mine, but I don't remember much of them because I was in that foggy time just after Brad had passed. But I remember meeting some cool people at that one, but I wasn't really in networking mode. Whereas today I was in networking mode. I was sitting here with pen and paper. I was writing down everybody's names, what chapter they belonged to, what they did, what their joy is for the holiday, or their obstacle preventing them from joy, what they're going to be doing to get over that obstacle so they can have joy for Christmas and all that through the holidays and stuff. And ended up meeting with somebody from that meeting later on today. Had a great conversation with her. We're going to have to set up another one though, because we can talk for so much longer. Oh yeah, forgot to tell you guys, I'm on early tonight because I've got For Your Eyes Only queued up, ready to go, and I didn't want to have to watch like 20 minutes of it, stop, and then come do this. So I figured I'm going to do this first, then I can go watch. So yeah, really great conversations today. Started making some really good connections and things, sending out invites to connect with people. Travel prep, moving tomorrow. So travel prep is not a lot this time because I was only here for 2 nights, one whole day. Like I arrived yesterday, I'm leaving tomorrow. So not a lot of stuff got unpacked like it would if I'm staying at a place for several days. I just got a few dishes to do. They'll be knocked out in like 2 minutes, maybe less. It's just dinner dishes. Doesn't take much. And so travel prep for stops like this is super easy because I don't unpack a lot. So that's really cool. But overall, it's been a really, really good day. Nice and quiet. It was hot and dry today. There was a slight breeze, and at one point I did have to close the windows and the door because I had them open. But the sun was coming around this side, which is the side I usually sit on when I'm working. So I wasn't able to have these windows open or the blinds open because the sun was streaming in and it made it even hotter. But I did have to put the AC on for a bit today. Was going to go and sit outside early this afternoon and then got caught up on a call, so that didn't happen. But that's okay. These things happen. We just roll with the time. It's just like, I'm on flexi time. I can work when I want to. I can set up appointments when I want to set up appointments. You know, that's the joy of one of the reasons I chose living in an RV, because now I've got a more free flowing with my lifestyle and stuff, and I have the ability that if I want to work that day, I can. If I don't, it doesn't matter, because I know I'll get the work done. It's going back to the lifestyle of working to live, not living to work. The US is very much a working to live environment. A living to work environment where you get up in the morning. You got to have the big house with the 2.5. There was the 2 cars, 2.5 kids, the half a dog, and the white picket fence or whatever it is. I just want simplicity. Simplicity, ease. I want to be free to come and go, which is what I've got. So I'm loving this. And getting back into networking again today was super energizing. It was awesome. I didn't have a nap today. I normally have a nap, and I didn't get one today because I was just so pumped up about today and all the exciting stuff that's going to be happening. The stuff that's coming down the pipeline is awesome. Can't tell you about it yet. I started taking squares off my project board behind me. I'm like standing there looking at it today thinking, I've got a couple of minutes. What can I do? And I went, oh, I can take that one off. I've done that one. Now, what else can I go do? Which is what it's all there for. So it's taking the project. So what this is, so you can see it a little better, the big ones up the top there tell me what the whole overall project is. And then the squares underneath is one step, is each of the projects is broken down into steps of no more than 60 minutes. And they're color coded based on what program I'm using or what the project is. And then on the corner of each one, it is written in the corner there how long that step or that part of the project will take. And it could be 5 minutes, it could be up to an hour. It's not allowed to take any more than 60 minutes. And then at the beginning of the day, I usually go and I look at it and I think, right, what places do I have in my calendar that I can plug something in there? Or I might find myself at the end of the day thinking, I'm going to knock one of those off. And so I'll go do that. Now, I have put some more up there since I last did that. So I have taken some off and put some more back on. And then the one that's over here, this orange one here, this is a bingo card that I'm coming up with for my for past and present clients, something for them to play. I've got 6 squares left to figure out on what to get them to do so they can cross a square off. And then I've got them on the little square post-its so I can maneuver them around and stuff. Plus, I like post-its. They come in cool colors and cool shapes and, different sizes. And I'm a post-it addict. I'm a chocoholic and a post-it. My name is Helen Brahms, and I am a chocoholic. I am also a post-it addict. So that's me. That's who I am. It's been an awesome day today connecting with other people, as I said. And like I said, travel prep will take me like 5 minutes to do the dishes. And then it's just making sure everything is put away, locked down, so that when I drive off tomorrow, my drive tomorrow is only going to be I think it's going to be like 2 hours, because I want to stop off. There's a place I need to stop off at to grab my mail. And then I don't think I'm allowed in the camping ground till like 1 or 2, so I'll show up at 12. And get all set up and all of that, because I have a call to be on at 1 o'clock, so I need to be in place, or at least somewhere where I can get online to be on a call at 1 o'clock tomorrow. So, even if I have to pull over in a shopping area somewhere and hotspot the phone and get on there and do my call, that's I've got flexibility. I can do what I want. Moonraker. So what I'm thinking of doing, and I'm probably going to start this, I don't know, I'm going to work out the details first, but I'm thinking of splitting my Facebook Lives. So you'll get my great adventures still, but then I'll do a second Facebook, which will be based on whatever movie I am watching that day and reviewing the movie from the previous evening. Now remember, I only get to watch movies if I get my to-do list done for the day. So every morning I make a to-do list, and if I don't get it done that day, I don't get to watch a movie that night. So I'm thinking of doing a separate Facebook Live for movies instead of incorporating it into this one. So would love to hear your feedback on that one and what you think about that. And the networking thing, We've got the networking event coming up on the 23rd and the 24th in Los Angeles. It's called Networking Riches. It is an amazing event. It will help you take your networking skills to another level. And if you're there on day one, you get to come back for day two, which is masterminding, which is awesome. It's my favorite part of the whole weekend. I will be there in LA for the event. So if you want to come join me, it's selling out fast. There's only 50 seats available in the room. So grab yours quick. Go to the link that's in the description here, havetonetwork.com. It costs you $47 for both days. And I believe lunch is included. I think lunch is included. Pretty sure it's included. It'll tell you, if you go to the link, it gives you all the information there. If you are not in the LA area, but you would still like to come, they do have live stream available where you can get on Zoom and watch what's going on in the room. You can actually participate as well. We had people last time who were online that got into the hot seat on Mastermind Day. We were able to mastermind with those that were online as well. And the people in the room were able to contribute to that too. So it's very interactive with the online people as well. So you've got that option too. And that is also $47. And then if you attend the 2 days, Casey has a offer. I think it's a 30-minute consultation with him about your business. So, you know, and that's like a $300-400 value thing. And you're getting it for $47 for coming for 2 days. Seriously, it's a no-brainer. It's an awesome, awesome thing. So click the link if you want to do that. So Moonraker. Well, this one is, from a lot of what I hear around about James Bond, this is like one of the least favorite James Bond movies, yet it got an Oscar nomination for Best Effect, for the visual effects in the movie. And watching it tonight, I was curious because I wanted to see how they did all the space stuff, all of the zero gravity stuff, and they were talking about the space shuttle. You know, this film came out in 1979, and they were trying to key it up for the movie to come out on the same day as the first space shuttle launch or around the same time and all of that sort of stuff, because this movie does involve space shuttles. It was cool. I mean, some of the stunts, I was like, watching the movie was good, but then watching the special feature afterwards and how they made it, and they're going through how they did the stunts, I'm going, like, there's one scene when they're in Rio and they're on those big cable car things, and James Bond is up on top of there with Dr. Holly Goodhead. That was his Bond girl's name, Dr. Holly Goodhead. They were up on top of this cable car thing that had got stopped, and Jaws had broken through the wiring down below and all that, and he comes up and gets on the other one and jumps, and then he jumps across. They actually did that jump across thousands of feet off the ground. They could not wear harnesses on top. The stuntmen could not wear harnesses on top of the cable car because they were going in and out of the structure of the actual cable car, so they'll get tangled up. But the guy that was, there's one point where James Bond slips over the side, and the guy was actually supposed to be strapped, clipped on at that point, but the filming guys turned around and says, "Are you ready to roll?" He said, "Yes." They said, "Go." He wasn't even strapped in, so he's busy hanging on there on the side for dear life without his safety harness connected to the cable car, and he's hanging there for longer because they finished filming, but they forgot to say cut so he could get up, and his assistant goes, "You better say cut," and they're like, "Oh, cut." So I'm sort of like, oh my gosh, you're thousands of feet off the ground and you're hanging there by your fingertips, literally by your fingertips for dear life. The stuff these guys go through. They developed smaller parachutes that could be worn under the clothes for the opening scene with all the parachutes and stuff, where James Bond gets pushed out of the plane without a parachute on, and then he goes diving after the guy who had gone out with the parachute, and basically they have this fight scene in midair. He takes the parachute off and puts it on, clicks it, and pops it. Well, they had to develop a camera to be able to do that because the lenses and stuff were heavy equipment and stuff, so they ended up building one out of titanium. One of the executive producers just happened to stumble across the secondhand camera store in some city that I can't remember, and in the back corner was this little panorama vision lens that does wide angles and stuff, and the lenses were made of plastic. So they took that back. They were able to make this titanium case, and they ended up building basically from scratch this helmet and camera gear that they could use when they went out, and it wouldn't weigh as much. And then the guy on who was the cameraman, was also a skydiver as well. He managed to rig up his parachute so that when it unfurled slower than it normally does, so there wasn't that big snap that could have caused damage with the extra weight that he had on his head. So just finding out stuff like this. And then they had the one stunt guy, they're at the Exusa Falls in Brazil, Argentina, and wherever it is. And they've got 3 countries. These falls go across 3 countries that don't talk to each other. And at this time, they don't talk to each other. The idea is to race this jet boat out of there. James Bond then releases this hang glider and goes hang gliding over the falls. And then his boat tips over the edge of the falls. Well, they had the boat keyed up on the edge of the falls to tip, and they did whatever they needed to do to push it over the edge, and it got stuck. And they're like, how are we going to get this boat off there? And so then one of the guys says, look, put me underneath the helicopter. I'll go over there and we'll push it from behind while I'm suspended from the helicopter. Well, he got dunked into a river. He got whacked into trees. Then he finally gets over the boat, can't move it off this ledge. It is stuck there. There's all this water flowing freely over the falls because they're right on the edge of the falls. So then they come up with the bright idea, well, let's tie a rope to the front of the boat, tie it to your harness, and then the helicopter can pull you and pull the boat off the ledge. So they start doing that, and they're starting to do the pulling, and he starts hearing this pop, 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 and it's a stitching on his harness starting to come undone. So they decided to abandon that idea. They abandoned it for the day. That night there was this whole big lot of rain that came through, and it washed the boat overside. So when you actually see it go over the falls in the movie, it's now done in a miniature on a set back in London. But they shot this movie in 4 studios in 7 countries and 3 continents. And they started filming it on 11th of August 1978. There's scenes where they have James Bond wrestling with a python, and they actually took these 2 400-pound each pythons, so 2 pythons, each weighing 400 pounds, flew them from Tarzana in California to Florida. The problem was the water in Florida, when they put them in the water, they just swam straight up to the shore and got up into the sunshine because the water was too cold for them. And they were trying to get them to chase the stuntmen so they could actually wrestle with them in the water. And so it took them a while and a few takes, but they finally got it done. Then they had the thing of how we're going to do the space scenes, because, space shuttle, we're going into space, we've got this whole space station and everything built, and we're going to do all this weightlessness stuff. So it was kind of interesting to see how they did this. And they did a thing called, I wrote it down here somewhere. Oh, they did passes of the film. So what they did is they filmed one element in the film, then they ran the film back through the camera, and then they put the second element in place and then filmed that. So they were kind of layering the pictures, and they had to be careful that they didn't get shadows from previous tapings on there. So they did that for all the filming of the shuttles in space and all that sort of stuff. And for they had this huge fight scene. And they were originally going to do For Your Eyes Only after The Spy Who Loved Me, but instead, because of the popularity of Star Wars, they decided to do Moonraker. And Moonraker was actually Ian Fleming's 3rd book, and it was about a mad industrialist who creates an ICBM with an atomic warhead aimed at London. Well, they thought that was too namby-pamby for James Bond. They needed to go bigger. So the only thing they used from the book was the title and the villain's name. They rewrote everything else and took James Bond into space. So they have this big fight scene with lasers, and it took them 48 passes of the film to get the whole shooting scene with the lasers and everything. I was cracking up laughing at the scene, which meant that the film had to go through the camera 96 times. So it was kind of cool. Then they were having to show you liftoff of space shuttles going up and all of that. So they were using magnesium and some other stuff, but they needed something to for the smoke trails coming out. So when the space shuttle takes off, you get that little smoke trail coming out. So they had these hollow models. They filled them with salt, and as they are pulling it up on a string, the salt's coming out the bottom, and they give them perfect smoke trails. I thought, it's ingenious. It's brilliant. It's awesome. And then how they found the James Bond girl was completely by chance. The woman who played Holly Goodhead, whose name I can't remember, actually ended up sitting next to the director on a plane just by chance. She was between acting jobs at the time, and she just happened to sit down next to him, and as I say, the rest is history. And they bought the villain from the previous one, Jaws. Now this is Richard Kiel, 7'2", huge guy, metal mouth, that was in The Spy Who Loved Me, and they bought him back by popular demand. He got so much fan mail, they just couldn't let him die. And they'd actually filmed 2 endings to The Spy Who Loved Me, and decided to see him come up out of the water and start swimming to shore. And but the biggest lot of fan mail he got was from kids. So he had a whole bunch of children write fan mail for Richard Kiel and Jaws, and they wanted to know why Jaws had to be a bad guy. Why couldn't he be a good guy? So in Moonraker, you see that transformation from him being Mr. Evil Guy to him being the good guy in the end, and falling in love. It was so cute. She's this little, she's like this and he's like this. It was, the top of her head came up to his elbow, and they're showing them side by side. I'll have to go back and find the actress's name and find out just how tall she is. But he was 7'2", and he had a good 2 feet on her in those pictures and stuff. Oh, and remember yesterday, if you were listening yesterday, I was telling you about Victor Tojansky, who was one of the crew members who, when the Lotus came out of the water, he's the guy sitting on the beach who had just taken a drink, and he looks at the thing, looks at the bottle, does a double take, and takes another drink. And he ended up being in Moonraker and in For Your only. So I did keep an eye out for him. And when James Bond brings the gondola out of the water as a hovercraft into St. Mark's Square in Venice, it's in that scene that you see Victor, he sort of like looks at his bottle of wine and takes a double take. They had 40,000 tourists watching those scenes being filmed, and poor Roger Moore got dunked 5 times when they're trying to get the hovercraft piece to come out of the bottom of the gondola. And he says just as well that it worked, 4 times. He said just as well it worked the 5th time because I only had 5 suits with me. But they tried to get St. Mark's Square closed down. It wasn't going to work. So they're actually filming that between crowds of people who are getting out of the way of this gondola as it's driving through St. Mark's Square. I thought that was hilarious. It was also the last time that we saw Bernard Lee play M. Now, he originally started that role in Dr. No, so he's been there all the way through. And he did start filming in For Your Eyes Only, but he developed stomach cancer and ended up passing away in January of 81. And because he got so ill in that, he was unable to participate in any filming and everything else. And so out of honor for him, you do not see an M in For Your Eyes Only. It is the only James Bond movie that does not have the character M in it, because they wanted to, basically they really didn't have the time to find somebody else, but they did it out of respect for him too. So yeah, it was really cool watching this, and like, this is when the Concorde was flying. It would take 5 hours to go from London to Rio on a direct flight. And so Roger Moore's flying down. He had to fly down a few days later because he was in hospital with kidney stones. So he flew down to meet up with everybody. He looks out the window. He's watching the film crew filming his plane landing. The plane then gets diverted over to the special area. He gets off the plane, gets into his James Bond suits and everything, gets his makeup and everything done, gets back on the plane. The plane then goes to its correct disembarkation thing, and so you can now get James Bond coming off the plane with all the other passengers. I thought, wow, what a pull to have for that one. So yeah, so there was, and then they had actually filmed the Rio Carnival and Mardi Gras scenes of the parades and everything the previous year. So they had that footage, but then when they had to use, for the parts that they had to use where James Bond was in the middle of the crowds and all of that, they had over 700 extras to recreate the carnival scenes, so that they could have James Bond and Jaws and all of that coming through the carnival and everything else that was going on there. But it opened in, and when you see the space, this one cracked me up. When you see the space station blowing up at the end, they were, how are we going to explode this thing? We can't use flames because there's no air in space. So they're trying to figure out how to do it. So what they did is they made sure they completely locked down the studio. Like, they had the doors locked and bolted and triple checked and everything else. And then they're standing there with 12 gauge shotguns shooting the crap out of this model to get it to break up so it looks like it exploded in space. I thought, brilliant. What a great use for a 12 gauge shotgun. I love it. So yeah, that's how you get rid of a 20-foot wide space station model. When you want it to blow up in space, you lock everything down, make sure nobody can come in, and then you just start shooting the crap out of it with a 12 gauge shotgun. Loved it. So it did get a nomination for special effects. And let's see. The budget on this film, this blew my mind. Okay, so special effects was shot in 4 studios, 7 countries, 3 continents, and the budget on this film was more than the first 6 movies combined. Oh, that's a ton of money. And then it opened in the summer of '79, smashed box office records, and proved that James Bond can conquer anything, including outer space. Oh, and my most favorite line in the whole movie, which every time I watch Moonraker, I kind of want, if I'm able to, I wind it back and rewatch it. There's the scene at the end where you've got all the dignitaries are sitting there. The mission's been a success. They've managed to blow up the things that are falling towards Earth and all of this sort of stuff. And James Bond and Holly Goodhead have just blown up the last capsule thing with all the poison in that's supposed to kill people. And and so they wire in the President of the United States and the Queen, and I think the British Prime Minister as well, and they're sitting there in like mission control. And they've got the Minister of Defence, the British Minister of Defence, Q's there, M's there, and they say, oh, we're going live now to the space shuttle. And so they go and they're calling up 007 and all of that, and they're trying onboard cameras and all that, and you go in the cockpit, there's nobody there. You can see the headrest floating because the headset's floating because they're still in outer space. So they then managed to get this onboard camera to start working, and here is James Bond on top of Holly Goodhead underneath a sheet. You can obviously tell what they're doing, and you hear him go, 007, what are you doing? And Q looks at it. Q like gets up and like he's examining the picture, and he goes, and he says, I think he's attempting re-entry, sir. My most favorite line in that entire movie. Love it. So that's it from me. I'm off to watch For Your Eyes Only. Tomorrow is travel day, so I'll be coming to you live tomorrow night from Temecula. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and thank you all for all the wishes down here. Let's see. Safe travels for tomorrow. Thank you, Jan. Carmen Scott, which state are you now with your RV? I'm in California, back in California for the holidays, to spend it with family. And yes, working to live instead of vice versa. Love it. Your enthusiasm as you share your movie reviews is sensational. So fun to hear about. Thank you, Elda. I appreciate that. And I enjoyed our conversation this afternoon too. Elda is awesome. She does this emotional release thing, which is just amazing. I felt really energized after our call, and we were just talking about what each of us does and getting to know each other. So that was amazing. She's an amazing woman. So that's it from me for tonight. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we will catch you all tomorrow. Oh, and also let me know if you want me to split the movie reviews from my great adventures, because I'm happy to do that. Have a great evening. Hey, konera.